Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Health Show. I'm so excited about my next guest. It's Dr. Tom Lodi. Tom, say hello to the audience.
Hey guys, hi there.
Everybody, Tom is amazing, amazing. And I always refer people to go to people to get better and to learn about eating healthy. Tom's the man. Tom is so much information knowledge. You've taken many years to learn all this information, and personally, you're thriving in life. So tell us now a little bit uh, about certain diseases that you work with. Like, let's start off with cancer because this is one of the things you studied for so long. Uh,
Mhm.
so if somebody calls you up, they have cancer diagnosis. Uh, Maybe we'll get into some other ailments as well, but cancer is the most popular one that people seem to not be able to get good help with.
Mhm.
So, what do you tell somebody who contacts you? I got cancer. What do I do?
Mm. Well, first of all, I haven't changed the name. So, if you tried to define cancer, oh, by the way, when people are communicating, there's certain criteria that are required. Number one, you got to speak the same language. Number two, you have to have the same definition of words. Otherwise, you're still not communicating. So, if you tried to look up cancer, you'd find out the only meaning, intellectual meaning, is someone born between June 21st and July 20th. All right? That's it. There's no other meaning. Okay. However, words carry two things: meaning, like table, just meaning, chair, just meaning. Okay. But cancer, no meaning, just emotion. And that emotion is fear, a fear to the level that cannot be comprehended unless you've heard it. It basically has become synonymous with death. So therefore, when you hear those words, they have your future is gone. All of your plans and agendas are irrelevant. I mean, it it is truly uh, no different than going to war. And when I meet these people, it's not they not only have post-traumatic stress syndrome from hearing it, they have current traumatic stress syndrome every day. It's devastating. Now, what happens when you have that level of fear? Well, you no longer have access to your prefrontal cortex. You can no longer make decisions, right? It's a frontal lobotomy. It's an emotional frontal lobotomy, and you'll acquiesce. We're going to cut that off. Okay. Then we're going to poison you. Okay. And then we're going to radiate you. Okay. Things you would never have agreed to in your right mind. Okay. Now they call it the standard of care, and I call it the standard of scare. They scare you to death. Okay, it's a sorcery. I'm telling you, doctors are sorcerers. I'm serious, and I'm not saying that. It's not hyperbole. Sorcery. Think about sorcery. Sorcery. You need a certain environment, a special kind of environment. You need lighting. You need incense or whatever it is, candles, and then you have to wear certain garb with the hat and all that, and then you say words. In fact, the words abracadabra are Armenian or Aramaic, which is an ancient language, Armenian, which mean as I speak, so I create, abracadabra. And remember, God spoke the universe into existence. Let there be light. So words, sound are more powerful than EMF. Light then became everything else. So um, so then that's what sorcery is, and they cast a spell. Now just think of this: you're in the hospital, the door's open, and there's a man or a woman sitting there with his white coat on, and behind them are all these papers on the wall, and then they're looking at your chart, and they look up and they go, whatever they say, it's called the diagnosis. They just named you. You're gone. Whoever you were is no longer. You're now a cancer patient, and which means you're on your death march. So you don't want to hear it. If I had something wrong with me, as much as I know, I wouldn't go in those hospitals. Because why? Because when I heard that, when I would hear that, it would bypass my intellect and like a screw worm get into my heart, and I'd never get it out. You can't get that out. It is sorcery. Now, let me tell you something. Um, uh,
So it's so powerful. You're saying even somebody like yourself,
I wouldn't hear it.
if you heard that, it would still affect you.
I'd be wiped out.
So it's like a curse, pretty much. It's a
It's a
curse.
curse. It's true sorcery.
That's really going to penetrate no matter how much knowledge or information or how long we've been in this health walk. As soon as that curse is spoken over us, we fall victim to it. That's why you see people out there that they think that they know everything about health, and then they tell everyone never get chemo or anything like that. The next thing you know is they're taking chemo because somebody spoke that curse over them.
Right. They scared. It's the standard of scare. No, it's beyond evil. And let me tell you what it's based on. It's based on the disease model, which is a myth. Now, the disease model morphed from the germ theory. Okay, so here's the idea. If I said to you, "What's a disease?" You'd have a hard time telling me. And basically, here's the concept of disease.
No, I know
It's
what I would tell you. A disease is
what?
another word for discomfort. And it's like, okay, something's uncomfortable. So we'll eliminate what caused that discomfort. And now you no longer have that discomfort. Discomfort is a much more subtle way because it's not taken so seriously and emotionally. If a doctor says you have a discomfort, you say, yeah, that's why I'm here. But if they say you got a disease, like you said, that curse is spoken over them.
Right, right, but because you're saying basically it's a third party that's gotten into you. Like for example,
Yeah.
you've got diabetes, we have to get rid of it. There's no it. If I'm eating pasta, bread, potato, rice, and cake, and I have a lot of glucose in my system, the divine intellect of my body will become insulin resistant to protect it because too much glucose will kill it. So I go to the sorcerers in the house of horrors, and they'll say, "Ah, you have a disease. It's called diabetes, and let me give you this and that and this and that." But all I have to do, remember. So what was my body doing? It was adapting. It's a physiological adaptation. It's called homeostasis. So all I have to do is just exactly what you said, Paul. Remove the reasons why it had to adapt, and it won't do it. So we need to restore the ability for our body to obtain its biological requirements. It won't have to adapt. So everything that we call a disease is a physiological adaptation. It's not a thing that's separate from us that we have to get rid of, because that's a military approach. You don't want to get rid of that. And by the way, so if someone says they have cancer, and I hate the word, they have cancer, uh, and they say, "I want to get rid of it," I go, "No, you don't. You want to be restored to health, where you not only have that, but you don't have diabetes, you don't have anything." Because what if we got rid of it? And this did happen. I had a guy with colon CFCs. I'll explain in a minute. Went to his liver. It took us 6 months. He was clean. Was he happy? No. He had New York Heart Association stage 4 heart failure. He couldn't go to the bathroom without oxygen. So he wasn't happy. He really wanted to be restored to health. So if you understand that each of these different manifestations of toxemia are just that, they're the apples on the tree. And you can pick all the apples off, but you're going to have a harvest next fall. So the idea is not the apples. That's why surgery is only important under certain. Anyway. So if you understand there are no diseases, then you'll know that an MD is a mythology doctor. All right, keep that in mind. Okay, it's the myth of disease. And so what happens with cancer is this. 55% of the energy that a cell gets from its environment is used to just make the cell have its structure, maintain the sodium, potassium pumps, etc. Then the other 45% of the energy is for cellular work. So the liver cells do liver stuff, kidney cells do kidney stuff, and stuff like that. All right. So the fundamental thing a cell must do is make energy, is get energy from its environment. So we grab glucose and oxygen. So anyway, now our energy is made in our mitochondria, like I said before. 6 oxygens, 1 glucose gives you 38 ATP energy. When 30% of those get knocked out because you're living in the 21st century, because it just gets everything. Okay, why the mitochondria? Because they have oxygen. And oxygen, as you know, is a double-edged sword. Very important, but I wouldn't light a match around it. So it's flammable. And biochemically, it's flammable too. In other words, what it does is it produces free radicals. They're called reactive oxygen species. So our mitochondria, which are making all the energy, have all these superoxide anions and hydrogen peroxide because they've got their oxygen. Okay, so when there's a confluence of toxins, the most vulnerable part of the cell is the mitochondria. So 30% get knocked out. The cell has to start to ferment glycolysis to make energy because it's got to maintain the energy. And in order now it's fermenting. The problem is one glucose, instead of being 38, it only makes 2 energy packages. So it needs 19 times more glucose. So it upregulates, gets more insulin receptors. It upregulates an enzyme called beta glucosidase. And blah, blah, blah. So it silences this gene, turns on that gene. It makes all these epigenetic changes so that it can survive. And once it successfully survives, it can now be a chronically fermenting cell. That's exactly what it is, a CFC, a chronically fermenting cell. And why do I love that word? Because it carries exact information. Because, that's what it's fermenting. Why? Because and so now I can make a strategy. I understand what's going on. I can undo that, and I know what it is, and I got no emotion from it. But if I hear that other word, I get only emotion and no strategy. And so it's ridiculous. It's not a functional word. And it hurts. It hurts me to say it. And I'll tell you something. If you know someone who's been diagnosed cursed, and they're sitting in a restaurant and they hear the word, that astrological sign, what is it, Sagittarius? Leo? Gemini? So anyway, if they hear that word, they get stabbed in the heart. I'm telling you, you can't use it. So please don't use it. If you have a friend that has it, by the way, figure out what your birth sign is. So let's say you're Taurus. And the next time someone says, so how's the cancer going? Say, well, what are you talking about? I'm Taurus. Right. So in other words, you've got to make sure people don't say that. Protect yourself.
Disconnect from all these medical witch doctor words, you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't hear it. Don't let it.
So when you do get diagnosed with something, whether it's a acute or chronic disease or whatever it is, when you get diagnosed with something, you're saying immediately reject what the medical doctor route is and find somebody like you. Is that what you're suggesting?
Right. But understand this fundamentally. We all know, or now we should all know that our body was designed to function optimally. And that's how I define health. Health is optimal functioning of the organism. And the only way an organism can be optimally functioning is if all of its biological needs are being met. And if that's happening, then it'll be functioning. So obviously, if we have any kind of discomfort, we're out of balance. Something is not being met. So what do we have to do? We have to get rid of all possible toxins and live according to our biological requirements.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.